I don't know how you do I don't know how you do anything. I'm not much help to Tina about putting the audio on because I ain't got a clue myself.
Well, I'm recording you all now, so don't swear.
Oh, crap. Oh, that's brilliant.
All right, so I have got a little presentation. I hate presentations, but I thought I didn't know if I was going to know everybody, so I thought I'd better make it a little bit more formal than I'm comfortable with. So I'm going to have a go at showing you my screen and talking over that then.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, oh no, touched it. This is me, Weight More, Weigh Less. I'm Yvonne, and I started this up out of going to university with my friend Sam, who's on there, and learning about nutrition. But I've always had a sometimes unhealthy relationship with food, so I wanted to just say that, because if you go to some slimming clubs, and I know this because I actually looked at a job application for one once, you have to have lost a certain amount of weight to be able to work for them. And I don't have a before and after photo of me 3 stone heavier than I am right now, but I do feel like that isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I've hit 40. I'm in there. I'm in the 40s, and I can still fit in the same pair of trousers that I was wearing when I first met my husband 14 years ago. So although I haven't had a big weight loss, I've managed to stay at a decent weight. And like I say, that's not always from a healthy relationship, but having been to uni and studied it all, I do like to think that it's a little bit healthier now. But it definitely isn't just in the genes. So it has taken a little bit of hard work. So I do totally understand that there's a whole lot more to losing weight than just what you put in your mouth. There's emotions tied in with it and all of those kind of things. So that's my passion. My job now is to work as a health trainer. So I work for Hereford Council, and I help people to lose weight and also to stop smoking. And unfortunately, I don't agree with most of the things that I'm supposed to tell people. And that led me to think, God, you know, once you know something, you know it. And so I feel bad giving people advice that I don't necessarily believe in myself. So I wanted to set something up where I was able to tell people what I actually believed in. So that's me. I do have some letters after my name, and I'm very, very proud of them because they took a lot of hard work. So I've put them on there. But that's just so you know that I'm not just talking out of my backside and from things I've learned off Facebook. So I put this up here. What does obesity look like? Because I wondered if anybody wants to talk, because otherwise I'll just keep talking. Does anyone have any opinions on that top? It's on my right hand side picture of the lads on the beach. You don't have to. Don't want to put you on the spot.
You've got tin rid.
It's obviously quite a long time ago.
Well,
yeah. Portions were rationed. They didn't have to have a chocolate every day.
No, they didn't, I don't think. The picture's from the 50s, and it's been used before, and I've stolen it from, I think, from the Guardian newspaper, but somebody showed it to us, and in a group of, I think it was a council meeting, it was a group of carers or, you know, people who worked with people around weight, and a lot of them took a really sharp intake of breath when they saw that photo and really thought that people were underweight and, you know, not nourished properly. But that's actually a healthy weight. They're children from the 50s who were at a healthy weight. But now if you saw a child like that, you're more likely to think, gosh, are they eating enough? Are they, you know, are they okay? And I think our perceptions of overweight has changed a little bit. And that's why the picture at the bottom, do you know who that is?
Augustus Gloop.
Yes, I had to look up his name because I'm rubbish at stuff like that. But I just feel, again, that was 1970s. Augustus Gloop on the left-hand side, that was a picture of an overweight boy in the 1970s. Like, to me, he looks like he could be in his rugby, like, smart rugby stuff after a match, so he's quite athletic. Go on.
Solid boy.
Exactly, yeah, and I think that's quite a different to the more recent Augustus Gloop that we've seen on the TV, and he's yeah, more, I don't know, words I would spring to mind from that would be like slob, you know, it's not a nice image of somebody who's overweight, but they're both the same character, and it's portrayed differently. So it's just kind of showing on my cycle about there is still a stigma around about being overweight, and that I think Augustus Gloop shows that. Even though we've got plus size models and there's a lot more acceptance about people being bigger, and it's not all about being a size tiny anymore, it still has a stigma around it, and that stigma leads people to worry about it and have all that emotional stuff, and then you eat more and then you gain more weight, and then you get the stigma and then you get the stress. So you try to lose the weight, but you're kind of setting up a little bit to fail every time. And what I wanted to say as well is that if you've ever been on a diet, lost weight and then gained it back again, it's really not your fault. It's a lot of it is to do with hormones and situation, and the fact that you're being given, in my opinion, not great advice. So the advice that the NHS give you, and this is the latest advice, I looked it up yesterday, and I do find it quite funny that the government have now got on the back of this whole COVID risk factors if you're overweight and how we should try and lose weight, while also giving you vouchers to eat in restaurants. What is it? I can't remember exactly what it is, but up to £10 free half price meal. So the kind of places that you can get that to make it worth it are the kind of places where you'll be eating foods that aren't optimally good for you and potentially aren't going to help you lose the weight that they're now encouraging you to lose. So
Nando's and McDonald's.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you, Jill. I didn't want to slag off any particular place. I'll save that for when you know me all better. So their advice in general, and I think it has got a little bit better, is to cut back on salt. Now, I do crunch on salt, I'm not going to lie, but I'm quite a special person. And that's not a bad thing to cut back on salt. So we'll leave that one there for a second. Cut back on saturated fats. So that's my butter in the middle there. And that's been the same advice for years and years and years and years. And that, unfortunately, there isn't actually that much good science to back up that message that they gave us years ago. And they won't change that message still. They're still saying to avoid saturated fats. And to avoid saturated fats means eating other not so healthy fats as well, and natural fats that cause inflammation. And inflammation is the root of most of our diseases. And the next one across is, I'm not sure how well it's shown, but that's, they call it getting a balance and aiming for 400, 600, 600. So this is, just going to try and let Tina back in. This is about having 400 calories for breakfast, 600 calories for tea, and then lunch, and 600 calories for tea. Trying to space out your calories through the day. Leaving yourself, in their words, enough room for snacks in between. But if you're Claire, if you're following their weight loss plan, they suggest you eat as a lady 1,400 calories. Well, that adds up to 16 before you've even had a snack in between. So that's kind of conflicting slightly, in my opinion. And this kind of snacks that they're encouraging you to eat are fruit, low-fat yogurt, plain rice cakes, and low-fat cheese. Don't get me started on rice cakes today. Nuts and seeds, veg sticks with a low-fat dip, malt loaf, fruit loaf, etc., crumpets, and Scotch pancakes. So in between eating your 3 meals a day, you're also eating probably 2 of these snacks, and they encourage the snacks to be around 100 calories. So I can tell you that that's a small bowl of fruit salad. It's 1 Ryvita with a little bit of tomato and cheese on, or a little bit of half an apple and a little bit of peanut butter. So I'm going to be quite hungry after that. And that's what they're doing. They say that it helps to balance the blood sugar, but actually I'll explain that it doesn't quite do that. Is everyone okay? Am I going too fast or just talking too much?
No, you're okay.
Thanks, you're so kind. So down on the bottom, the next picture, this is something else that I'm really passionate about, is cooking for yourself at home. So I'm really glad that the NHS have put that in there as well, because if you can cook from scratch, and not everybody can, and not everyone's been reading a bit of Jack Monroe, and not everyone's got the facilities or the means to, but if you can, you're automatically going to be avoiding a lot of the things that they suggest, like the salt, which is put into processed foods, and the unhealthy fats, because you'll be doing that yourself. So definitely an advocate of that. The next one is to reduce your sugar, which I think is fantastic, but it's really hard to reduce all of your fat and reduce all of your sugar, because there's not very much left to eat then, because these low fat yogurts that they're encouraging you to eat, they take the fat out, they put the yogurt back in. And also added sugar, yes, let's get rid of that, but there's also a lot of sugar in our carbohydrate type food, so we're getting sugar from a lot more places than maybe we're aware of, and they don't tend to highlight that at all. And a lot of the snacks, like I say, malt loaf, fruit loaf, low fat dips, rice cakes, it's just adding to that sugar load in our bodies anyway. Finally, they say eat a balance, which is the Eat Well guide. I hate it. So it's yeah, sorry, I don't mince my words. So you might not agree with everything I say, but I will come back to the advice being given, I promise you. But the Eat Well guide is encouraging you to eat 2/3 of your food is basically carbohydrates. So yes, some of that is coming from vegetables. The other half is coming from starchy carbohydrates. All of those turn into sugar when you eat them. Some faster than others, but all of them eventually do turn into sugar. And then the fat section, they're encouraging you to again eat inflammatory fats, not natural fats. So I don't love it, but what can we do about it? I guess that's the question. So a lot of their focus is around calories, like I say, 400, 600, 600, 100 calorie snacks, keep your calorie levels down. And it's not all about calories. I like having to count calories, and what I'm encouraging you to do is not to have to count calories, or in fact count anything, because they're, I want to say meaningless might be a little bit strong, but it's a measure of energy needed to raise temperature. It's done in a laboratory, calories. It's not really in your body, and it doesn't take into consideration what you're actually eating. If you go on a diet, and in fact they've done it on the TV, on those programs where they put people on different diets, you could eat ice cream, only ice cream, but as long as you stay under a certain amount of calories, then you are going to lose weight. You're starving, probably not feel very well, but you will lose weight, because when you reduce your calories, you lose weight. But what you also do is lower your metabolism. So a 30% reduction in calories equals then a 30% reduction in your basal metabolic rate. So it's slowing everything down. So where your body would be working to keep your temperature up and your heart beating and all of the things that it does just to keep you alive, it starts to kind of reduce the things that it doesn't need to do so much. So it needs to keep your heart beating, but your temperature management might not work so well. So you do lose weight, your metabolism slows down, so you're burning less calories, you feel hungry, because also ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, it gets ramped up. So your body's fighting with you to say, do you know what, I want you to eat, thank you, please eat. And because you're a little bit miserable and you've lost the weight potentially, but then you hit a plateau because your body's got used to that, you need to reduce your calories even more to lose any more weight, by which point you're thinking, and I've seen this at work, people give me food diaries and they're really not eating very much at all, it's just what they're eating. And I look at it and think, if I give you the proper advice, what, swap that packet of crisps for a rice cake, but you're already eating rice cakes, what more can you do? So that people lose heart and regain weight. And it's not your fault. It's not something that you can really do anything about. It's a natural process in your body. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I insulting anybody yet by making?
No.
Sorry. That's the other thing I worry about. So this, I've stolen this, blatantly stolen this, and I have to tell you because Sam might recognise it. But this is another way of looking at your calories. So the way we see calories, we take the calories in and then we burn them off again. So they come in, we use them, they go. But it doesn't actually work quite that simply. There's a lot of hormones in place that make this work. So when you eat, we produce insulin, unless you're eating pure fat. And I have been known to take coconut oil off a spoon, but not very many people just drink oil, and nor do I anymore. But when you eat, you produce insulin, and that's our body's way of getting the energy into our cells so that we can use it and go about life. While you've got insulin running through your system, that's why the little man with his hands up, you can't burn the stored energy that's in your cells. So the food comes in and it gets, if you don't use it, it gets stored first of all as glycogen in your muscles and in your liver. If you then don't eat anything else, as you need energy, it comes out. So the glycogen in your liver and muscles is like the energy that's in your fridge. So that's your immediate energy. When you've used up all of that, then you start to access your fat. But if you've never used all of that up, because you're always filling that fridge with food, it goes into your body fat stores and into the freezer ready to be used for later, which is really useful when we were in a kind of the old days, you know, when we were trying to survive on very, very little. When we did eat a lot of food, it got stored for later. And then when we were going through periods of not being able to find food, our hormones then would take place. We'd have no insulin in our system, so it would allow that fat to come out of the freezer into the fridge and make it readily available for us.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense.
Thank you, because as I say it, and I've said it so many times, and sometimes I hear my voice and can't decide if it is making any sense or not.
Yeah.
So I've heard another lady talk about it, in that if you have got excess weight, it's a little bit like having food sellotaped to your body. So you're carrying around little snack pots with you. But that advice tells us that if we don't eat, then our blood sugars are going to drop, we're going to feel unwell, and we just aren't going to do well, we're going to starve. If we don't feed ourselves, then we're going to starve, and it's all bad. But how will we starve when we've got all of these little packets of food all attached to our bodies? The problem is with society saying have breakfast, have a snack, have lunch, have a snack, have tea, is that we're always in this insulin dominant mode so that we can't access these little packets. They're glued to us and they're glued shut. But if you don't eat, this glue comes undone, the insulin isn't there, so it can be freed. So you can have that little granola from your body that's attached.
Your bra strap.
Yeah, however you're hiding that, you can take it. I don't think you get to choose where it comes from, though, because you can't pick whether it comes from the bottom or the boob.
Oh,
Unfortunately. So what I'm trying to do is highlight that, in that you can't just keep on eating, even if it's just a rice cake or just a piece of fruit, and expect to be able to access the fat stores and use those. Because every time you have something to eat, and all of these snacks that the NHS encourage us to eat are quite high in sugar, which is what the insulin is trying to drive into our cells for us. So if we can reduce that by not just having a little break from the food, then we can actually access some of the fat stores and burn off all of the food that's in the fridge first of all, instead of just cramming it full all of the time. I put the other picture on of insulin just because I wanted to say there is a couple of different ways of looking at it. But when we eat anything that turns into sugar, and that's every single carbohydrate that you can eat, including fruit and vegetables, less, but it still does turn to sugar. Insulin then tries to push the glucose into our cells to be used for energy, and we do need that. There's two ways of looking at becoming insulin resistant and then diabetic. One is that the cell receptors don't work very well, so we can't take the insulin in anymore, and it builds up outside of the cell. And building up outside the cell means that your body then produces more and more insulin, and you become resistant to it, a little bit like you do with antibiotics, or when you listen to loud music and you have to keep turning it up all of the time, because you just get a little bit resistant. And the other way of looking at it is that basically we've filled up our cells because we've got so much glucose that the cells are just full of it, and no matter how much the insulin tries, it can't ram it back in any further. I don't know which one is the correct one, but I do know that they both lead to an excess of insulin and therefore insulin resistance, which leads to diabetes. And diabetes, along with most diseases, are caused by inflammation in the start. And I've just read another lovely book that says type 2 diabetes doubles your risk of getting Alzheimer's and other brain-related illnesses. So it is quite a massive thing, and a lot of people will go around not realising that they're insulin resistant unless they get a diagnosis of diabetes. So it's quite a big deal, really. Thank you. Zoom have said I can have extra time because I talk too much. I hope you're all okay. I know it's Saturday. I'm getting there, I promise. I just want to give you the background, and part of the reason I want to give you the background is so that nobody feels that they have to pay me to join a group when the information's all out there for free. You know, you can go and get it, and I'm giving you everything that you need to go away and do it yourself. Really, if you wanted to, that's absolutely fine. But through my job again at the council, I do know that if you've got the support, and the fact that Slimming World do so well is because it's that ongoing support and that group and that motivation that helps. So that's all entirely up to you. The crux of my programme and what it's based on, and it's mostly based on this, giving your body a little bit of a rest from having insulin running through it all of the time. So I advocate fasting and for 16 hours a day, and I know some of you have done this. A lot of you have already tried this and know that it works. And when you start doing it, it feels like 16 hours is a really long time. But this apple shows you, you've got 8 hours to eat. So, for example, you start eating at 12 o'clock, you finish eating at 8 o'clock at night. And then you go round again, so you've got 4 hours, but you go all the way round, and from about 8 of those hours, you're probably sleeping anyway. So you naturally fast while you're sleeping. So all I'm suggesting is that you push it a little bit further and you fast for 16 hours. If you change that 16 hours to whatever suits you. So although this apple says eat between 12 and 8, if you're an early riser and you want to start eating at 9 in the morning, that's absolutely fine, but then you have to stop at 5. Didn't think that one through, did I? At 5 at night. So that doesn't work for me because my husband gets home at 6, so we eat at about 6. I usually close my eating window just after 7. So then I can start eating at 11 the next morning if I want to. Now I do push that a little bit, and once you've got used to it, I would say eat when you're hungry. Don't get to your 16 hours and go, yay, I can eat, and go and open the fridge. But you can if you want to, totally up to you. So while you fast, you can ideally, and again, you set this how you want, but ideally during the fast, you only have water. I'm really a fan of sparkling now, which I used to hate. It's funny how things change. Black coffee.
Just don't sparkle your coffee.
I did sparkle my coffee once. I put the sparkling water in the coffee because I was so desperate to drink something else.
It's
Okay, honestly. But if you pour it in too quick, it goes everywhere. So you just be careful. That's probably be wrong.
You are wrong.
Black coffee, black tea. It's disgusting, that's my opinion, but obviously we're all different. So I do now drink something called white tea because that's just much nicer. And you don't need milk in it. It's not milky tea, it's actually white tea. That's really it. Black coffee, black tea, green tea. Green tea is also okay, but not the flavoured stuff. And the reason you're not having flavours, and I encourage you not to put fruit in your drinks and things. I mean, you can if you want. It's your, you know, you've got to do what fits you. But we're trying to stop an insulin response. And if you put fruit in your drink, it might just tell your brain, oh, that's sweet. And even though you're not eating any calories, it can still cause an insulin response. So it's best to keep it clean for the first few weeks at the very least, and then you'll start to get used to your body's own hunger signals, which I think a lot of us have lost eating a normal traditional full day. And then if you wanted to, you could put lemon in your drink, and if it then made you hungry, you know that that's caused an insulin response, and you can either avoid that if you want to or choose to live with it. While you eat, so during the 8 hours that you're allowed to eat what you want. That's my thing. When I said at this group, and I said you don't have to buy any fancy foods, you don't have to count any calories, you don't have to weigh and measure your food, and you don't have to buy expensive ingredients, I really meant that. You can eat in that 8 hour window how you want, but obviously the better that you eat, the better the results are going to be. If you eat pizza and McDonald's for those 8 hours, it's going to kind of counteract the good that you're doing in the 16 hours. But if someone brings you a donut or someone offers you a piece of cake on their birthday and you really don't want to say no, you don't have to feel like you failed, because as long as it's in that window, it's okay. Is that all okay?
Yep.
I'll put a little quote on there. If you are what you eat, I've lost it. Yeah.
Don't be cheap.
Anyway,
Fast.
you can read it. Goodness, yeah, you can read it. Don't be fast. So my advice, and I'll be quick because I think I've covered most of this while I've been chatting. I've done it as the NHS is here, so it's slightly different pictures in the circles. First one is fast. That's really the key to this process, is to fast, okay? Everything else is up to you, but I suggest you don't fear fat, because if you eat low fat food all of the time, you're not going to feel satiated and you're probably going to feel hungry. So add that extra. Do what you think you're not supposed to do. If you have decided that you're going to have some mashed potato with your piece of fish, why not throw a little butter on that potato? Why not cook the fish in a little bit of butter? Because that will actually help you to feel fuller, and your body doesn't recognize carbohydrates. There's no hormone to say, oh, I'm eating carbohydrates, I must tell the brain I'm full. But there are two hormones, that peptide YY and cholecystokinin, just so you know, I do know what I'm talking about, that can have receptors for the fat. So when you eat the fat, it tells your brain that you are being nourished, and it will help to satiate and make you feel full. That definitely helps if you're new to it, because if you've only eaten a really low fat foods in the 8 hours that you're eating, it's going to be really hard to get past the next 16 hours. So if you've eaten some slightly more fatty food, or even and proteins also, then you're going to be feeling a little bit fuller to help you through. The lady with the apple, I'm absolutely not saying don't eat apples. I will go into, over the sessions, if you join up, you know, what I think about different types of foods and my opinions. What I'm saying there is try not to snack. So when you sort out whatever your window is, I would recommend eating twice. So maybe have a breakfast and a lunch, or a lunch and a dinner, depending on what time you're doing your fast. If you really want to, if you're eating for 8 hours and you start at 10, you can have a 10 o'clock lunch, a 10 o'clock breakfast, a 1 o'clock lunch, and a sort of 6 o'clock, well, 5:30 tea if you want to. So if you can fit 3 meals in, that's fine, if that's what makes you happy. But try not to snack in between, because what you want to do is eat, let the insulin do its job, and then clear it out again before the next time you eat. The most important bit, though, is the clean fast. So if you do find that you're snacking, don't worry about it. Just keep it within the 8 hours. If you really need that little piece of chocolate, try and have it after your meal rather than in between your meals, so that you're just keeping it condensed into one time. Definitely go with the eating, cooking from home if you can, you know, because you know what's going into your food then, and you can look after it. I stick with the NHS about sugar. I don't give you rules about what to eat during your 8 hours, but I would say try, where possible, to avoid specially added refined sugars, and avoid kind of unhealthy fats, which is the opposite of what the government will tell you. Try not to have sunflower oils and things like that. Try to go for the natural olive oils, even the coconut oil, even butter. They're natural, they're not so highly processed and they don't cause inflammation in the same way. And then the last picture, I don't eat like this, but it's a good guide to go and try and fill your plate half with vegetables. You know, if you envisage your dinner, try and make sure that you are filling it up with plenty of vegetables or fruit, and that you're not doing what the Eat Well guide looks like and having 2/3 of your plate covered in, well, 1/3 of your plate covered in the starchy carbohydrates. Try to reduce those portions a little bit because they do turn to sugar in the body. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Trying not to overwhelm you with what to do. So this is it. This is my group. What I'm offering you is weekly group check-ins. I haven't done this before online. I have run two separate groups of people, and they came along and we did split all the information into 8 weeks. First one was 10 weeks, we condensed it, and talked about different aspects each week, weighed in if people wanted to, not compulsory, not everybody wants to. But if you do, and have a chat about how you're doing, share with other people, you know, what was hard for you, what wasn't. But it's as much or as little as you want to share. So we can do that hopefully through this Zoom or via Facebook rooms, whatever is the easiest. I've got a closed Facebook group that some of you are in already because you've done the programme. But what I will do, I've not been using it very well because lots of other things to do, but if people are paying to join, what I will be doing is putting a lot more information on there. I've started to put PDF recipes in there that you can download. I'll continue to do that. There's a unit section where I can put information about fats and sugars so that you can go back and refer to it and learn it, you know, and just see it there. There'll be top tips. I'm probably going to rant on there every now and again about things that annoy me, but you can choose to ignore that completely. And I'm offering maybe a once a month cooking demonstration or cook along, again completely optional, but sometimes it's just nice to see a recipe being cooked rather than read a recipe if it's something that you haven't tried before. And if you want to do it at home as well, because you obviously can't taste it because it's virtual, but if you wanted to do it at home with me, I'd let you know obviously in advance so you could, but you can just watch as well if you wanted to. So yes, that is it. I would recommend, I'm going to come back to you now because I want to see you. Stop sharing. I would recommend that 12 weeks, you try and give this 12 weeks. I'm going to do it as an ongoing thing, so stay with me or don't. Don't mind. But I would recommend giving it at least 12 weeks to try because Claire and Maggie, you've done it. Not everybody gets results really quickly because we're not on a crash diet. It's not a fad diet. It could take a little bit of time for the weight to actually come off, but hopefully you'll see changes elsewhere and you'll just feel better and potentially lose weight or change shape, and you know your size might change before your weight changes. So it's really hard not to be a slave to the scale, but try not to be. So if you want to join me, I would recommend taking some kind of measurement. It can be a scale. It's always lovely to say I've lost this much weight, so maybe stand on the scales if you've got scales. Measure your body, measure your waist, measure your boobs, measure your hips. It's really actually quite difficult though to measure in exactly the same place every time, so just be mindful of where you took the measurements from exactly. If you don't have a tape measure, use a piece of string and just maybe put a tie or mark it or cut it so that you can then see in a couple of weeks' time if that's reduced. Seen some lovely things where people have hung them on the wall and you've just got this smaller and smaller and smaller piece of thread that used to be their waist. So whatever works for you, I definitely would recommend taking some measurements. And that's kind of it. Ask me some questions.
I would say that when I did the measurements, I found that more had more of an impact and an incentive than getting on the scales, because I don't have huge weight gains. I'm quite lucky, you know. I do keep pretty much, and I really want to lose these 6 pounds that I've gained, you know, over the last 4 months or whatever. But I know the first time we did it and I measured, because probably I'd never measured for years. And I think at the end, I'd lost about 2 inches all the way down. Yeah, and that was it 10 weeks then? Yvonne?
Yeah,
we did it 10. That pilot one, if you like, we did for 10, and I lost about, I think it was 12 pounds and a couple of inches, and it was not difficult. And certainly felt livelier. I didn't feel as lethargic. I didn't feel as tired. And what I found in that time that I knew I couldn't eat, whatever that time of day it is, it's quite productive because you're doing other things. So, you know, if I'm waiting to start at 10 o'clock or 11, instead of getting up and sitting with my bowl of cereals and yogurt and goodness knows what else I throw in there, I'm doing something. So it's quite productive in the non-eating hours. Yeah. That's all I'd like to say. For once.
Yeah, I'd have to agree that measuring and seeing the inches go down, although I was absolutely think I went on the scales every single day, but I don't do that now. Only because I've put weight back on and now I just don't want to see how much it is.
Also, I'm a bit of a scale, I could tell people and I not to, but I still can't help it. Like I said, I've had bad habits that are hard to shrug, but I've gone on the scale in the morning. I only really weigh naked as soon as I've had my first wee. And I've literally done that and then had a coffee and a big poo. I do like to talk about bowel movements. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's back to uni and I can't get rid of it. Got back on the scales thinking it's got to be smaller. I've just evacuated quite a lot of weight and it's up. So literally 1 hour later, 1 cup of coffee and a great big poo and I weigh more. So I would say if you do go on the scales, go on at the same time in the same situation every week or month, whatever it is that you're weighing, because they fluctuate so much and it can be really disheartening. So just bear that one in mind as well.
Yeah.
I don't weigh or measure. I don't weigh or measure. I like the excitement when you put a pair of jeans on and they're a little bit.
Do it with clothes. Yeah.
You can tell. Yeah.
It's like, woo!
That's the other
I've
thing.
got a specific pair of trousers I want to get into, so that's like just keep trying them on. They get a bit further up.
Yeah, I did that when I started doing the fasting. I had them trousers that I wanted to fit into, and I managed to fit into them after not too long. So I was like, wow, I love it. And I don't get hungry.
No,
hungry.
No, I didn't get hungry at all.
Yeah, it's hard to start with the first few times you start it, don't you? But then you soon get into it.
Yeah.
So, but why do we just slip out of it so quick, though? I mean, everything's just gone out the window, and we just slip out. So you need that somebody there all the time, like with Weight Watchers, don't you? Because and the people and other things just get in the way.
Yeah.
It is really easy to slip back into old habits again. But also really easy to this is really easy to stick to. I mean, you can go on holiday, and I know some of you have done, and just adapt it slightly. So, another thing I would suggest if you're going to do it is don't tell people you're fasting, because they want to tell you to eat. And to be fair, we're not really fasting. It's called intermittent fasting, but we're just putting off breakfast, really. We're just skipping one meal, that's all. And some people still can manage. I think you used to, Maggie, didn't you? Still have 3.
I did, yeah, because I like the food I have for my breakfast. So I had less, didn't have as much cereal. I still like that yogurt, cereal, fruit combination. So I might go a week and not have it, and then I think, no, I'm going to have it today. So I'll just think on a day where we can have an early tea, I'll have a 10 o'clock breakfast and as you say, half 5 tea. So you can work around it.
Also, you can't drink, obviously, during your fasting. You can't drink alcohol. I'm a bit of a reformed character, so I forgot about the alcohol there. Sorry, guys. Normally that would be my first point. If you want to drink wine, you can drink wine. Absolutely, definitely, you can drink wine or gin or whatever it is that you drink. But it has to be within your 8 hours. So if you're planning a night out, adjust your hours so that you can, you know, stop later. And like, what I would recommend then is pushing it the next day. Always try and keep the 16 hours if you can. It doesn't matter if your eating window is smaller or even slightly bigger. If you start early one day and then dinner's running late for some reason, don't not have dinner. Have dinner, even though that takes you to 10 hours. But try and do the 16 hours the next day, so you've still always got that 16 hours in between whatever it is that you're eating. Okay, I'm not going to tell you too much more because I want you to
come back
and chat. What I'll do, obviously there's not going to be structure as there was during the face-to-face, because I kind of gave you each week a different thing, and this will be more, I see this being a bit more ongoing. So after 12 weeks we don't say well done everyone, off you go, stay with us if you want to. So what am I saying? Oh, so if there's anything that you want actually covering during those weekly sessions, I'm more than happy to do it. Just let me know. Or if you just want to have a chat in general, you know, or ask the questions. I do not know everything. I did say I've got a few letters after my name, but there's an awful lot of stuff around nutrition that I don't know. So don't expect an answer always immediately, but I'll do my best if I don't know the answer. And sometimes I'll blag it, but I'll try and I'll be honest if I'm blagging it, so you know. That's I do.
Hey, don't sell yourself short. You're very knowledgeable.
I call myself make a meal of it because I'm passionate about like cooking, and I think it's important. Like, make a meal of it to me is something that's important enough to make a meal of. But also my tagline is uncomplicated nutrition, and I do try to keep it like that. You know, if we can do it simple, like just don't eat for a while. You can't get any more simple than that, can you? Because you guys have joined me and are too polite to say hurry up and go away, I'm proposing a Tuesday night. And I know we're never going to be able to fit in with everybody, but how does a Tuesday evening sound for a virtual group chat? Meet up.
Sounds all right.
Yeah. Tuesday wouldn't stop anyone.
No.
Brilliant. Okay, so based around the fact that we've all got kids and dinner to eat and your timings, anyone want to give me a time that suits best? I'm always in this office now, so I don't care.
No.
About 7 or something.
I'm happy with 7. Is that?
Yeah, that would be absolutely perfect.
Hang on, Sam's frowning.
Is that a bit early for Sam?
Is 7:30 too late for people?
7:30 is good.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Sorry, small children.
No, I did wonder that. I mean, when I was doing it face to face at the Kindle Centre, I wouldn't have wanted it too late because I don't think people want to come out. But if it's virtual, I would have been happy to go a bit later if you need to.
Yeah, 7:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'll do then, I won't put anyone on the spot and I won't put anyone under any pressure. Is everybody on Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you drop me a message on Facebook if you want to join, what I'm suggesting as well is that it's £4.50 a week, although I don't want you to pay me weekly because you'll come once and then never come back again. So I thought that was kind of like a fair-ish price. Some months are 4-week Tuesdays and some will be 5, but I thought if we do it for £18 a month, if that's okay with everybody, or if you, I would like, and I do suggest that you sort of try and give it 12 weeks commitment if you want to see an improvement. If you want to sign up and pay for 12 weeks, then it'll be 50, and I'm happy to do that in 2 instalments. Thank you, Maggie, for your suggestion. Yeah, for an hour. And like I say, the content of the Facebook page will be evolving, and if you decide that there's things that are missing in there that you want to see, please say. The Make a Meal of It page will still be running and I'll still put recipes on there, but the specific group that you'll be in is a group rather than a business page, and you can put a lot more information into those. You can put the learning units and the PDFs in there, so that will be more focused around my beliefs around food. But if there'll be other recipes on Make a Meal of It that are maybe a little bit more kind of based around the things that I don't eat. But the Weight More Way Less will be more about what I advocate, that you eat however you want to. Honestly, I'll give you my opinion and you can choose to do with that what you want.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
the cook along was, I don't think any of the others joined in that, but that went well with the soup and the flatbread.
Thank you. I'd love to do them for you. So what I think, if we do the once a week weigh-ins on a Tuesday, I'm calling it a weigh-in, you choose whether you weigh, and if you want to send me your information so I can keep track, then absolutely please do. But if you join, let's start Tuesday if you want to, 7:30 this Tuesday. It's the beginning of August. If you come along to that one with your weight, or whatever measurement it is that you're taking, and I also recommend taking some photos. Stand in front of the mirror in whatever you want, make it a specific pair of jeans or your pants or nothing. Don't send me those ones though. And in a few weeks time, in a month, in 12 weeks, whenever you feel ready, take another one, because it's really powerful. Sometimes the weight doesn't change, but you can really see the change in shape. So come with something on Tuesday, so you've got a starting point.
Yeah,
Sounds
we
good.
can remind each other as well, Helen, on a Tuesday morning.
Yes, yeah, we can do
coffee morning on a Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
So, if we're both on that, we can remind each other.
Yeah, that would be brilliant.
And we'll set a sort of floating time for, if you want to do cook-alongs and recipes, we can just pick a date for that month and do it as and when it suits everybody. Okay.
Yeah, no, sounds good.
Questions, or I'm hanging up?
Yeah. No, I'm all excited to get us back started. Definitely.
Thank you.
That's all right. Thank you for coming.
Bye,
To find
everyone.
the Facebook page, can you just put Yvonne Richards in to find the Facebook page, or what's it called?
Yeah, what's it going to be called?
Oh, actually, good point. So if you can find Make a Meal of It, and message me on there, I'll invite you to the group, because the group is closed. So only people within the group will see whatever you put in there. Your friends and family don't need to know what's going on, or they won't, unless you want them to, obviously. But
mine will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Any problems? Claire knows my details, and Helen Maggie's got them, and everybody else knows them anyway. But once I've got you, I'll give you my email address and everything then, so that you can communicate properly.
Okay. Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Have a good day.